I love the way this duo sets up for the Chicago Bears. DJ Moore's your high read, and if that's not there, then you get it to Keenan Allen because he's going to be open, right? Like, he's going to be there.
That's when he becomes the most deadly version of himself, when they do move him around and they don't just try to pin him on the X.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
May be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
We move on from the Chargers. Let's talk about Chicago a little bit. Again, Keenan Allen is going to team up with DJ Moore over there. This is an incredibly interesting duo. We've got DJ Moore in the prime of his career. Obviously, Keenan Allen sort of on the sunset of his career, but still put together a great season there in 2023. Matt, this is a guy in Keenan Allen that played about 60% of his snaps in the slot. DJ Moore, I think, can kind of move inside, outside. So if we're talking 60-40 inside, outside for Keenan Allen and 40-60 inside, outside for DJ Moore, again, this is, I think, two movable guys that end up being pretty interesting.
I love the way this duo sets up for the Chicago Bears. I think this is a great pairing. I think this is, I'd have to go back and think about it, but I can't really remember a receiver duo that was this good that like a rookie quarterback is finding himself paired with.
That's a good point.
I can't think of any in recent history. So maybe we can go back and think about it. But again, like rookie quarterback, first round quarterback getting dropped into this situation, it's pretty good. And we know the Bears are in this situation not because they stink. The Bears actually are playing good football by the end of the season, especially on defense. They're in this position because the Carolina Panthers are a running, operating joke. So that's why they find themselves in the first overall pick to get Caleb Williams to begin with. I love the way this receiver room, this receiver duo specifically, sets up for the Chicago Bears because of what we were talking about with Keenan Allen during the Chargers part of this here. Like, Keenan Allen is still a very, very, very good wide receiver, but he is a kind of specific application player at this point. Like I mentioned, in his reception perception sample, he was in the slot or backfield on over 63% of his snaps, as kind of backfield is like a pre-snap motion type of option. You want to keep him off the line of scrimmage. He was lined up behind the line on a career high 72.5% of his sampled snaps in RP. And like I mentioned, 61.4% of his routes were dig, curl, slant, screen, flat. Short, intermediate routes, those layup routes. I think the term, we throw quarterback friendly around for receivers and pass catchers at times. Like Keenan Allen probably is the epitome, the peak of the quarterback friendly archetype. So that's great for Caleb Williams and all that. But again, all this like receiver stuff specific with Keenan Allen, I think DJ Moore is one of these guys that you could line him up at all three positions. Like he can be a vertical X receiver and he can separate. He can be a flanker. You move him around to different positions. He can line up in the slot and kind of be used on some of these quick hitting routes. But yeah, I mean, look, Mike Williams is a good player. He's a good X receiver. He was in the prime of his career for sure. But even with Keenan Allen, there was nobody in LA when he's been putting up all these stats that has really been a true man coverage beater on the outside, a vertical separator like a DJ Moore can be at that X receiver position. So the way these two guys can work off of each other, like that gives you the high-low concept, like DJ Moore's your high read, and if that's not there, then you get it to Keenan Allen because he's going to be open, right? Like he's going to be there. So I think that just creates such a good environment, not just for the quarterback, but also for these two receivers to work off of each other, specifically how you can get the best out of what Keenan Allen is at this point of in his career because of who DJ Moore is as a vertical separation X receiver who beats man coverage on the outside.
I don't know, Matt. I feel as if they would be better off, Chicago would, to your point, I think mix them around a little bit. I think we saw a little bit more of that in Carolina at times. And I really like that when I saw DJ Moore kind of play inside, outside, and whether it's flanker, X, slot. I think he's got the skill set to be able to play, as you mentioned, all three positions, those wide receiver positions. And because of that, I think that's when he becomes the most deadly version of himself, when they do move him around and they don't just try to pin him on the X.
Totally agree. I agree with you that I think he's a guy that man, I complained a lot during his Carolina days about how the Matt Rule coaching staff did not get enough out of DJ Moore in yards after catch situations. And he got a lot more of those opportunities with the Bears last season, even on some non-traditional man coverage routes, because he was just – I go back to that Washington game on Thursday Night Football when he was like demolishing. And to be fair, Emmanuel Forbes got kind of taken to the woodshed by a lot of different people as a rookie, but like he was cutting up Washington in man coverage on curl routes and comeback routes and still getting yards after catch. So that is interesting to me. I think just, again, the cool part about this is, Shane Waldron's offense in Seattle, and sometimes this annoyed me a little bit last year, but it was very strict, like 11 personnel, and we just asked these guys to just win ISO routes. I hope they use the middle of the field more than they did. I think they probably will with these receivers, because Keenan Allen, all those routes we talked about, in breaking, intermediate, short routes, that's going to be part of his game. I think DJ Moore is great on those in breaking, short and intermediate, and vertical routes as well. So I think that middle of the field will be more activated. But a lot of what we saw at a Shane Waldron last year in Seattle was a lot of ISO routes. And these are two guys that can win in isolation. Keenan Allen's going to have a lot of one-on-one man coverage and zone coverage situations in the slot. Number one, because it's really difficult to double a slot receiver as it is. You have to really kind of bend and break your defensive rules. We talk about that a lot on the show. But because of who DJ Moore is out there, I mean, that is going to be a really hard situation for defense to account for. Like, so you tell Keenan Allen to go up there and like run an option route on third down. I think he's going to be like a third down machine. The last point about this I would make too, about why I really like this trade, and we'll see if they give him an extension, whatever. But like, I don't think trading a fourth round pick, and when you're on that F-it rookie quarterback timeline, right. Giving Keenan Allen however much he's going to count against the cap this year, I don't think that has to take you out of taking a receiver at 9th overall. Like, if one of those guys, Roma Dunze, if he falls to number 9, like, I don't think you have to trade up for him right now, which I thought maybe they would, but they only have 4 draft picks, do the Bears, which is the Bears always seem to find themselves low on draft picks because they make a lot of trades, but whatever. That's part of Ryan Poles' strategy. It was kind of part of the previous GM's strategy as well. But like, say one of those guys falls, and then you still have a hole at outside receiver, because your other receivers beyond DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, they re-signed Dante Pettis, who's a special teamer. Velas Jones, that's not a thing. Tyler Scott, rookie last season, we didn't really see a lot from. Colin Johnson, who's like a career journeyman receiver. So there's still definitely a need for another outside receiver here. I think that might be, some people might call that overkill when you certainly have other needs on your roster. But again, I don't think Keenan Allen takes you out of the receiver business, and continuing to make a strength stronger is good when you can just continue. And Keenan Allen has an injury history, so having another guy in the building is probably a good idea.